Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Nigro. I'm here with a chemistry notes screencast. This one's going to be pretty quick. It's the sixth one in our Unit 5 material dealing with kinetics and bonding. This one's going to focus on covalent bonding specifically, but it is not going to focus on Lewis dot structures. All right. I have a separate screencast for that I've already made that I'm going to point you to for notes on that material. And to be honest, we do notes very differently for that particular topic because we do it by practicing. All right. So rather than do a separate screencast walking through that, I'm going to pull that other screencast in so that you have that available. All right. But before we can even worry about Lewis dot structures for covalent bonding, we need to make sure we understand what covalent bonding is. So this is going to be pretty quick. All right. Now remember, covalent bonds form when atoms share their electrons, all right? And these electrons count toward both atoms' octets, all right? And the other piece I want to remind you of is these are non-metals only, all right? If there's a metal present, then that means that we've got a transfer of electrons happening, all right? And so that's not covalent bonding, that's ionic bonding, all right? But if we have electrons being shared amongst atoms, then they're non-metals, and those shared atoms are going to count towards both atoms' octets, all right? And remember, that word octet means 8. They want 8 valence electrons, all right? When two electrons are shared in a bond, they are called bonding pairs, all right? Unshared electrons are called lone pairs, all right? And you're going to see now why it was important when we do our Lewis dot symbols that we do one per side before we pair them up, all right? Because the ones that are already paired in our Lewis dot symbols tend to be our lone pairs. The ones that are unpaired tend to form our bonds with our other atoms, all right? Now I have a figure here. We're going to label one of each type in the figure. Remember, bonding pair electrons belong to both atoms. All right, so this would be an example of a bonding pair. All right, the pair belongs to the hydrogen and to the chlorine. All right, so it is a bonded pair. All right, a lone pair belongs to one atom only. All right, so there are a couple of examples here. This would be a lone pair. This would be a lone pair. And this would be a lone pair. All right, so chlorine is not sharing those electrons with any other atom. Those are all chlorines, so they are considered lone pairs. All right, now similar to ionic compounds, electrostatic forces help hold atoms together when that covalent bond forms. All right, there are again 3 forces at work when we talk about that covalent bond. The first one is going to be an attractive force that forms between the protons of one atom and the electrons of the other. So this attractive force that's shown here. All right, there's also going to be a repulsive force that forms between the protons of one nucleus and the protons of the other. All right, and that would be this one right here. And then there's a third repulsive force, or a third force that is repulsive, that forms between the 2 electron clouds if they overlap by too much. All right. And in the end, right, we need that attractive force to be greater than the sum of those 2 repulsive forces. And if that's the case, then the bond is going to form. All right. So similar to what we saw with ionic compounds, electrostatics are still very, very important. All right. Now, to balance these forces, there's only so close the atoms can get together and have the bond form. They also can't be too far apart. So there's going to be a sweet spot for those 2 atoms to reside where they can overlap just enough for the bond to form without the repulsive forces pushing them further apart. All right. So every covalent bond has a characteristic length that maximizes those attractive forces and minimizes those repulsive forces. This length is called the bond length. All right. And that bond length can be impacted by a couple different factors. All right. The first, the atoms involved in the bond. All right. A bond length between two hydrogen atoms is not necessarily going to look like the bond length between two carbon atoms. All right. Hydrogen atoms and carbon atoms have different numbers of protons and electrons, which means their electrostatic forces are going to be different. So that means the bond lengths are going to be different. All right. Second, the atomic size of those atoms. All right. Some of the atoms near the top of the table are pretty small, but as you move down the table towards the bottom, they get larger. Just by definition, if you have a larger atom, that means the bond length is going to be larger. If you have smaller atoms, the bond length will be smaller. All right. So that's going to impact that bond length. All right. So larger atoms, longer bond length. All right. And then finally, all right, the number of shared bonding pairs. All right. The more pairs that they share, the shorter the length becomes. And it comes into this attractive force between the protons of one atom and the electrons within the bond. If you have protons trying to pull on two electrons, the force of attraction is going to be okay. But if you have four electrons, the force of attraction increases. If you have six, the force of attraction goes up even more. All right. So what that really means is a single bond's length will be less than a, I'm sorry, I did that backwards. A single bond's length will be greater than a double bond, and a double bond's length will be greater than a triple bond. All right, I should just take a moment to mention that. Up in the picture above, we showed one shared pair between two atoms. That is a single bond. All right, so a single bond is one shared pair. A double bond is two shared pairs, as I'm sure you guessed. And then a triple bond is three shared pairs. All right. And if we think back to our kinetics unit, all right, the bond length is going to be directly related to the energy. The shorter, sorry, indirectly related to the energy needed to break it. All right. The shorter the bond, the stronger the bond. The harder it is to break, the more energy you need. And all of that is going to impact activation energy. Okay. All right, so that's really it. This is a quick little screencast just to get us set up to move into our Lewis dot structures for our covalent molecules. Again, you still need to understand in general what is happening. You particularly need to appreciate what a bonded pair and a lone pair are so that you can differentiate between those when drawing your Lewis structures. And then you should have an idea of what the bond length is and what impacts it. Okay? All right. Up next, Lewis dot structures. Please make sure you look for that separate screencast. I will add it to the notes assignment in Google Classroom just so you have it. Or you can always go to Chem Calculations and find it that way.